A few years ago, I was in a coaching session with a managing director of a very vibrant company. And we had been journeying together for a while, discussing leadership issues, etc. And in one particular, we got to this particular stage, and I just knew something there was a blockage. We weren't having a breakthrough there. We were talking technical stuff around the edges, but we weren't getting to the core problem. There was something that was blocking it all. Now, you need to understand, I'm not a therapist and I don't do this deep healing work stuff. I'm basically there to facilitate a journey into becoming the best person that they can be. So I was really struggling with this because I wasn't helping him to move forward, and I don't want to become a therapist and deep dive into his deep dark past or something like that. Not that there was anything, but I was struggling with how do we proceed with this um, journey at this point in time. How do we proceed to bring about the growth that I knew he could experience and that he was definitely looking for? And to have that, he needed to have some kind of transformation. And not massive big fireworks kind of stuff, just a process of seeing something happen in his life that brought that transformation. And I knew it was there. I think that's the thing about it. Sometimes, you can sit with somebody and is like, okay, this is just where it's going to go. It's not going to go much more than this. And I'm content to work with wherever the client is. But in this case, he was a friend of mine. I worked with him for a few months and really enjoyed working with him. And I really had a care. I really cared about his journey as well. And so we were sitting in this one session in the office, and suddenly this question came to mind, and I said to him, "What do you fear most? What do you fear as a man, as a leader? What do you fear?" And that was the trigger that kind of tipped the scale. And I don't remember what he said, and it doesn't really matter because I don't need to know. It's not mine to carry. It was his fear. And suddenly the authenticity, the transparency came out, and he could name that specific fear that he has. What I've noticed over the years is how men struggle with the difficulty of accepting or naming that they have a fear, because it kind of has been tagged as weakness when you have a fear. Paul the Apostle had a fear, and his fear was that the people he had been discipling would get deceived, as Eve was deceived, that they would be deceived and taken away from their first love. And this bothered him tremendously. Now, I don't know if it so much became his insecurity, and he expressly says in 2 Corinthians 11, then says, "This is my fear." And so this was a concern that he had to confront and he had to grapple with. And I think that's basically what happens is a lot of people, a lot of men don't want to own that fear, and if you don't own it, if you don't manage it, if you don't control it, it controls you. And that's the scary part about it, is like, if we don't want to own up to it, we don't want to acknowledge it and say, I have a fear or I have an insecurity in this area. You know how many leaders I've come across that have insecurities? I can see it. They probably know it, but they don't want to acknowledge it because it will be a sign of weakness. I sat with a leader one day over coffee, international leader, and and I was just talking about insecurities along this line, and I was saying how we all have insecurities, and he rolled his eyes at me, and I looked at him and I said, "You've got to be kidding me." I said, "You're wanting to convey to me, communicate to me that you have no insecurities." I said, that's the dangerous thing, is that if you are not aware of struggles in your life, this is where you are going to fail. Is that becomes the failure point, because those insecurities begin to control you. When my son, and I spoke about this in the last video, when my young son said to me, "Dad, what is it you want to achieve? What is it you fear that you won't achieve?" And, I immediately owned up and I said, what I fear is that I won't accomplish something impactful in my life before I die. I'm 66 years old and I want to do something that you guys are proud of and that I'm proud of and that my wife is proud of. And he waited until I was finished, and then he just slipped in something to change my point of view. And he said, "Dad, you have accomplished. It might not be a big platform, it might not be huge dollar amounts, a big banking account, but you've impacted my life. You've impacted all your sons' lives. You've impacted people all over the world where we've lived." And it was like I had to readjust myself and not allow, because my fear was driving me. It was driving me to fatigue, to exhaustion. I would work long, long hours. I was pushing, trying stuff all the time, and not just settling and being content with, okay, you know what? The one that God puts across my path is the one that that's my assignment. And the one thing, the one channel, the one opportunity I have, or the two opportunities I have to work right now within the context of my energy limits and my physical limitations, do that and be content. That's it. Don't be driven by your fear. And I had to confront that, acknowledge that, and confront it and say, I'm not going to let it's there. It's still there. I still have something inside of me that says, let's do something. And that's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not going to let that control my thinking, control my hour, my time and my effort. I'm going to control that rather than that. And the what I've seen over the years is then how insecure leaders become the most dangerous people. Insecure men become the most dangerous people, not dangerous in the sense of violence. Well, that happens too. But I think insecure men, insecure leaders, um, try and control the world around them. They don't control the insecurity, they control people to get an outcome that will favor their insecurity rather than them controlling their insecurity. Your insecurity, your fear demands a reaction, demands an action. And if you're not confronting it, taking charge of it, managing it, that rules your life. But when you do, you decide the response you want to give, the action you want to take, the decision you want to give. And when this young managing director um, grappled with that, and we spent the next hour just him just sharing from that, and it was transformational in his life. Acknowledged um, afterwards, when we had finished the journey, um, a transformation took place in his life because he grappled with it, acknowledged it, challenged it, and controlled it. It didn't mean it went away, but it was controlled. And that's the great thing about it. I think, in a sense, it does go away, but I don't want to leave you with false hope and say, is that this all just disappears because this is your secret formula. I'm not advocating that at all. I'm just saying is that when you confront it, you manage it and you control it, and it doesn't control you. So men don't admit fear because it shouts weakness. I'm not looking for an answer from you today, but like the MD sitting across the office from me. But what do you fear most as a man? What do you fear as a husband, as a father, as a leader, as a business leader? What do you fear? What is your greatest insecurity? You don't need to fix it. It's not about fixing something. You're not broken. It's just there. You just need to stop pretending it's not there. And that's the biggest thing. Don't pretend. Don't roll your eyes at it. But acknowledge it. And that is the total shift. That will start transformation in your life. I'm Coach Sean. Thank you for being with me today. I'm in your corner.